changes that they made with the most recent update. Everybody can look up the patch notes. They're all put up in the latest notes as of January 29th, patch 5. A lot of people are probably going to notice right away that their weapons just do far, far less damage than they did before. If you look at your weapon damage, whereas I had a lot of guns that were doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 to 1200 damage per gun, you know, like for example, 2-shot severe lever action. This gun with my low health build used to do about 1500 damage, and that's before sneaking and other multipliers were added in. But a lot of these guns were really severely nerfed. So let's go over the actual notes and what they entail. So first is the damage bonus by the demolition perk. So before, the demolition perk used to give you 100% bonus damage at 5 stars. Now it gives you up to 60% bonus damage. And on top of that, we also have the explosive legendary mod damage bonus has been reduced from 100% to 20% of the base weapon damage. So that's kind of important, because now if your gun did say 100 damage as a base damage, it's only going to add 20% more damage rather than 100%. It's not doubling that damage anymore. So the multiplier is going to be even more important going forward. That you understand that 5 points in explosive damage before would have given you 100% on top of already another 100%, basically quadrupling your base damage. And instead, you're only going to get 60% more of the 20% more. So if your base damage is 100 damage, and that gun's just explosive, now it's going to do 120 damage. And 60% more of that's roughly, I think, about 12 damage. So now we're talking about 132 damage out of a 1-star explosive weapon, if its base damage was 100. So now, if you want to squeeze out that extra damage, you're going to have to, like, find other sources to really get that damage back. So, beyond that, they've also nerfed 2-shot. So 2-shot is no longer king. So 2-shot explosives, let's see, the 2-shot legendary effects damage bonus has been reduced from plus 100% to plus 25% of base weapon damage. Now mind you, this is important when you're thinking about the weapon damage. If the basic gun does 100 damage, and it's a 2-shot gun, just 2-shot, that weapon's damage now goes up to 125 damage, right? Now explosive would only add 20% more damage, so we're talking roughly another 25 damage. So now your base gun that was 100 damage, a 2-shot explosive, is only going to do 150 damage. So yeah, those are some pretty hefty nerfs, but they're also a lot more comparable to the other multipliers you've already had access to that you might not even be using. So when you look at like agility, you know, you have a 2x sneak bonus, right? And you can, you know, make it harder to detect while you're sneaking, so you can sneak more. Or you can pick a perk, such as, what is it, covert operative sneak damage. You can increase that by up to 2.5 damage. So if you spend 3 points in agility for this card, you can increase your sneak damage by 0.5% more than normal. So that's one of those multipliers that, it's not huge. It would have been a lot better to have 2-shot, which is 100% bonus damage, and explosive, which was another 100% bonus damage. But if you look at this, it's more realistic now. You're getting less damage from the legendary effect than you do by picking this card at a 3-star level. Which, it's a very effective card, because you also have other cards that lets you, like, let's find it real quick. I know it's here. Do I already have it? Covert operative. Perhaps I already have it. Here's another perk that lets you actually sneak to lose enemies. I probably already have it. Escape artists. Sneak to lose enemies, and running no longer affects stealth. So in the middle of a fight, if you're not in power armor at least, as soon as you sneak, if you have this perk effect, you know, you sneak even if you're seen, you're hidden. So that's something that, like, in the middle of a fight can give you that 2 times damage up to 2.5 times damage if you have that other perk equipped. So now it's, look at it less like it's a nerf so much as the legendary effects no longer trump all the perks, and you don't have huge multipliers on your base damage before your perks increase those even more. That's how people are getting 3,000 damage per bullet and whatnot. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and eat and drink because, you know, it looks like I might be kind of dying here. Alright, so those were some of the really big weapon effects. Another one that a lot of people might not notice because they weren't king, but flamers, cryolators, plasma weapons, laser weapons can no longer spawn with the explosive legendary mod. What that really means is if you have a mod on your, I don't like the fact that they use mod, let's say a legendary perk on your legendary, you have some sort of a weapon that does not shoot a bullet. That's what the dev explained. The explosives mod causes weapons to fire bullets that are explosive. The weapons listed above don't fire bullets, so we've temporarily removed the ability for them to spawn with that mod applied, so we can make adjustments. So in the future, they plan on making adjustments to how this works, but for right now, it didn't make sense that a flamer that's shooting fire would have an explosive bullet effect on it. So what that really means, though, is if you have, say, like this Executioner's Flamer, I have this flamer that has a bullet that explodes effect. What they're saying is, they temporarily removed the ability for them to spawn, which means these weapons are now valuable, because you can't get this flamer again. I can't get another 2-shot explosive Gauss rifle, because it's not shooting bullets per se. Those 2mm ECs, that's an energy weapon. Energy weapons aren't necessarily bullets, but they didn't actually specify the Gauss, so the Gauss might still be available, while a Tesla rifle, if we pull out this Tesla rifle, right? This Tesla rifle is definitely not shooting bullets. So if I shoot this Tesla rifle, that looks like a bullet, but that's because it's got the bullet effect. Normally a Tesla rifle is going to shoot like a laser. Or not a laser, more like a lightning strike. It would chain between enemies. So they didn't specify the Tesla and they didn't specify the Gauss. So I'm interested to see whether or not those still drop. But when it comes to something like the Cryolator, that was mentioned. The 2-shot explosive Cryolator that I have is going to be... This is going to be the only 2-shot explosive Cryolator I will have, and anybody else that has these, this is the only one that you will have. It will not drop again, at least not until they decide how they're going to make adjustments in the future. So if you have these, it's not that these weapons are really great. I mean, this is a 2-shot explosive Cryolator. That's 34 damage. It's not exactly impressive. That's why it was in my stash. But it did a lot more damage before. It just didn't do the maximum damage that we were all looking for when we were trying to fight Scorch Queens or even just Scorch Beasts. You know, I don't know. I actually never did try to see if you could, you know, freeze a Scorch Beast out of the sky. I just imagine it would still be pretty hard to do. So let's go ahead and put these back because though you can't get them anymore, it doesn't do anything as well as all the other guns. So other things that we should probably look at notes wise, let's see, loose weapons and armor mods are now protected from auto scrapping when crafting. So that was that issue that we were having where you had mods in your stash or on your person And when you were crafting or you were repairing or just modding weapons, they would actually eat one of those mods that you actually had. So like this Raider leather, if you look there, it says it'll break down the leather, right? Well, if I tried to repair something that required leather, before it would have eaten that mod, or at least it had a chance to. And that was really bad because here I am just trying to repair something, and I have a jetpack mod I want to sell. And all of a sudden I go look in my stash, and there's no jetpack mod. Well, it's because I repaired something that used steel, and that's what that mod broke down to. So that's a good one. That's a good change that we're not going to actually... Hey, hello, shady random person. How are you? Alright, he's just kind of hanging out, I guess. So, you're not going to lose your mods anymore. That's good. Your turrets now have an own tag. Let's see, carry weight. This is going to be a big one for the dupers, or just those that wanted to like use characters to store stuff. It no longer, if your carry weight limit is 210 pounds, for example, your maximum carry weight is 1,500 pounds above that, which means that your total carry weight cannot go over 1,710 pounds. So a lot of people that weren't cheating, they were storing junk, or they're storing legendary weapons they don't have room for in their stash on alternate characters. Well, guess what? If you have over 1,500 pounds above your carry weight, you can no longer pick up items, and here's the really important one: you can no longer get caps. Characters who already exceed this limit will be unable to add any additional items or caps to their inventories until they reduce their carry weight below the hard cap of 1,500 pounds above their carry weight. I really think this is to like combat dupers. Dupers that have unrealistic numbers of things. Like, sure, you can easily get over that 1,500 caps, but if they're carrying, say, hundreds of weapons or armor or whatever they plan on selling, because they're over that threshold, they can't just jump on that character and then sell you something, because they can no longer get caps until they get below that weight threshold. So that's going to have a retroactive effect on those dupers that were kind of ruining the market for everybody. Tons of, things that they can sell that they just made willy-nilly just by like glitching out the game and whatnot. They can't get caps, which is what they were mainly after. They can't trade either. They can't give you a weapon or something in exchange for a weapon until they're under that 1,500 pound threshold. So that's a big one. And I think Bethesda did a good job there, because they can't just roll back everything that's ever been duped, but they can keep these people from continuing to ruin the economy by walking around with 6 million pounds of equipment and notes and this and that. These people now have to get rid of this stuff, hand it off to somebody else or something, and that person won't be able to do anything to get caps or get new items. They can't go over 1,500 pounds. So you have all these people that might have characters, they're just kind of screwed. Like, it's going to at least make it more tedious, that they'll have to, like, go on one character and give an item to somebody, to give back to them, to actually be able to sell. Like, it now makes it a pain in the ass. It's not going to be something that they can just, like, do all day long and make tons of caps. Or some of these people are selling stuff for money, and it's just not going to be this quick and easy deal, especially if going forward they've actually fixed the dupe glitch, which... yeah, that was also in the notes, that they've actually fixed the dupe glitch, or at least they've done things to keep you from duping. Now, how effective they are, I haven't tried to dupe. Never been, big on the whole duping thing, and I know people have done it. And I know people that, like, have done it and are happy for this change. Like, they didn't want that there. It's just they didn't feel it would be right that all these other people can, like, take advantage, and they didn't. But that's besides the point. Dev note, for this weight limit, this hard carry weight limit, these limits exist primarily to keep servers from performing poorly, which can happen when we have too many items in the game room. They also play a role in helping to regulate the in-game economy. We do recognize the desire to be able to own more cool items we have in the game. We are looking to a variety of solutions, increasing the stash size being one of them. We'll be sure to talk more about this when they're ready. So, they said in the past, it's nothing new, that they're going to increase the cap stash limit in the future. They're looking into it. Well, adding just another way that we can't get around that limit. You know, we have, what, 600 pound limit as far as the stash goes. Most of us are sitting pretty close to that number, right? You can have up to 5 characters. That's 600 pounds per character, so that's 5 times 600, 3,000 pounds that you can store in stash boxes, right? Well, now if you have like 4 alternate characters, they carry like, say, 200 pounds. Now they can only carry 1,700 pounds per character. So that's a lot of weight you can carry if you're willing to have a friend help you shuffle things to your other characters, but painful, and now it has a hard cap, so that way that one person that's got like 60,000 steel and 40,000 this, and maybe they're storing for all their friends, that person can no longer make caps or take on new items, and now they have to either offload it, or that character is just what they have is what they have. So I think these are all good changes so far. Tried to limit this mainly to the bigger stuff. Cap stashes are now containers, which allows them to be properly reset and provide players with instant loot. I think the way that reads is just like, you know, I can go and look in this this lunch pail right here. This is a instant container. A cap stash is now searched like this. I can find this cap stash, and or I guess I could go find a cap stash if I want to demonstrate, but it sounds like more than one person can actually find that cap stash, and it'll reset for you after a certain period of time. So, vendors, in case you didn't notice when I actually had my notes up, if you go to your notes, it actually has a known next to all the things that you know that you have. Like, this is a big one. A lot of players are crying for this all over Reddit, all over Twitter. Just, this is a really big one that, like, we should be able to see when we go to a vendor. Like, if I go to this vendor right here, let's see if he has anything I have not learned yet. Which, you know, I've already kind of looked through, and it doesn't look like it's going to load. Let's try it again. Come on, there we go. So look at that. All these are known. Let's see if he's got anything I don't know. Oh, look at that. So, this is going to be another big one that people are going to notice, is that there's just going to be a lot more plans at every vendor. But not every vendor is going to have every plan. So, like before, this vendor may have had one of these things. Like, I recall seeing, like, Death Tambo here, probably Flamer here at some point. But it didn't have all of these before. It just had, like, one, maybe 2 of them at random, right? Mods look about the same. Cost didn't go up, but if you look at these plans, the cost did go up. This brick building set right here. First off, I have really high charisma, and I also have hard bargain equipped with magnetic personality. So, because I have a teammate on, you know, I get that extra bonus charisma per teammate. But if you look at my charisma is 14. It's pretty decently high, but that's because I'm wearing armor that raises those stats. So if you come down here and you look, I have 4 pieces of unyielding on. The lower my health is, the higher my stats go. So let's see, my charisma again is at 14 right now, right? Let's get some more rads real quick. Let's see what that does. Yep. Serendipity just kicked in. Well, that's another thing they talked about in the patch notes. Serendipity is actually going to give you a prompt now when it kicks in. So you saw Nerd Rage kicked in. That means I crossed that 20% threshold. If we go back, my charisma, which was 14, is now 18. So that's going to continue to go up as my health goes lower. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So vendors, recipes and plans in vendor inventories are no longer randomized and can now be reliably sourced from those vendors with the exception of some minor workshop and camp plants. The appearance of many plants and recipes in vendor inventories is based on player level. They will show up once a proper level has been reached. Additional structural plans for wall sets, power connectors, doors, generators, and water purifiers have also been added to some vendors. So, plans before that you could only get by finding like overseer stashes, right? You can actually buy them now. And let's go back over here. Take a look. Charisma's now at 18. Let's see if I can get that going higher, get a little bit more ratted real quick. Oh, so you see that prompt again? That was either dodgy or serendipity, but either way, it's actually dodging the radiation. Or is that serendipity? Do I have dodgy equipped? Nope, that's serendipity's prompt then. I do have serendipity equipped. Yep, it's the same animation. Matches the picture on the card. While below 30% health, gain a 45% chance. It's not just to avoid damage. Apparently radiation falls under that too, so there's a chance that when you're low health in this, nuke zone, you may actually take less damage.
Ready to exchange items.
Let's see, with my higher charisma, if the prices went down at all. Brick building site, I think it was a little bit higher than that. They do seem to have a kind of hard number beat, like when you go over a certain amount of charisma, those prices just aren't going to go down anymore. But Watoga Shopping is actually the one that has the most plans so far that I've noticed. So let's go over here real quick. While we're here, we can sit here and talk about the Bloodied, which was a big thing that I wanted to mention as far as where you can still do some major damage. Now you saw my health is sitting here at 25 out of 248, so we're sitting at 10% health, almost exactly, right? So my power fist is now doing 1207 damage plus 59 energy damage, so almost 1300 damage. And on top of that, if you look, this one has 40% more power attack damage. So as far as the weapon damage goes, Bloodied is actually where it's at, and it's not just Bloodied strength. Let's go over here and see if we can find a legendary or a guy to kill. Here's some sort of laser going on. Here we go. So here, a lot of people are worried that you won't be able to one-shot enemies anymore. A lot of weapons are very viable. Okay, so the Bloodied Hardened Piercing Handmade, 451 per shot. Now, right now, I do have perks for single shot rifles equipped because I just wanted to show that they're still viable. So this gun shoots rather quick, and that's 451 a shot. My lever action may not shoot as quickly, but 676 damage per shot with just a few cards. Rifleman, Expert Rifleman, Master at 2. So I'm not fully spec for it, but I could easily make this an automatic rifle and then switch to my commando cards. And if you have a close encounter with a Bloodied automatic, you're going to pump out more damage if you can keep it on cue. So let's take a look real quick at what this vendor has available. So you'll see if it looks.
Welcome. Hello.
Push.
Please see our
Phoenix,
helpful
why don't you
automated
want
staff
to?
if you need anything at all.
So it seems like if you switch too quickly, it might not load. But
Grocery store.
I don't know if it defaults to showing all the known plans first, but you can see there are a lot of plans at this vendor that were not here before. It may have had a chance to have a blood cleanser, or a calibrated shock. And before, you could have probably picked up that calibrated shock for like 1,000 caps or less. But now it's here every time. It's just now it costs 5,000 caps. And that's with hard bargain on and high charisma. It's 5,250 caps. So, yeah, you can get all of the different mods for all these different T45, T51. So if you like the T51, and you want some calibrated shocks, 2 of those, you know, 10,500 caps, right? If you want to throw a hydraulic bracer on each arm, another 2,000. A jetpack, another 5,200. So now we're talking, it's a pretty tall order. 2 calibrated shocks, a jetpack, and a couple bracers. We're talking that's like 18,000 caps. But they're available if you're high enough level. And mind you, I'm like, what level am I? I'm level 168. So I'm probably going to see just about every different note in the game. But you're also going to see price changes. You didn't see any of these brick building, you didn't see the metal building over 1,000 caps. They were sitting at like 500 or 600 caps, but they weren't always at this vendor. So there's a price now. We always have access to these plans, but those plans can also cost upwards of double what they cost before. So while a lot of these plans don't cost double, like metal diner doors, all these different doors, they were always about 175 if you had the right charisma. Power armor station 875. That normally you could only go and get out of the White Spring bunkers. So it's good that you don't have to be in that far into that quest chain to even have access to that. And you don't have to go and do that other quest to get that plan. Power gates 175. And you do see that it's showing these known plans. Even though they belong down here in the T45 section, the known plans all seem to like group up at the top. So that way all the plans you don't know, you can go through those and not have to wonder if any of these are ones that you don't know, or you do know. All the unknown ones go to the bottom of the list. So that's good. And wow, that is if I was going to buy all these plans myself, like, we're talking like easily 50,000, 100,000 caps. This would take a lot of saving, or a lot of grinding, or a lot of selling. Like, if you're a merchant, or if you want to be a crafter and you want to craft these for people, you can specialize in T60 now. If you want to spend and have every single T60 mod, it's going to add up quickly. 7,200, 9,300. Very quickly, you're going to spend a lot of caps to learn all those plans, but you could be the T60 guy who can craft every T60 mod and just deck somebody out. So it's going to be expensive, but you can still be that specialized merchant that offers services if you want to like offer to your friends, or go on Reddit, or find a Facebook group, or there's all kinds of places out there that you could actually now become a specialist and choose, like, I want to be the T60 guy. I have you T60 on lock. You know, like 20,000 caps, I will mod every piece of your armor, or 5,000 caps and you provide mats. You know, we'll see how that goes. But now we can all get these different weapon plans, these different plans without having to like server hop multiple times. But they're not cheap anymore.
Approach and
So
identify yourself.
as far as it goes, there's a lot of things that were in the patch notes I didn't go over. Hunter Hunted, it's now going to give a server-wide message when a player joins Hunter Hunted. So let's try that real quick. I don't know if you haven't done the Hunter Hunted, go over your radio section, just select it, and everybody on the server should just got a notification that I joined Hunter Hunted. So we'll see if we get any notifications of anybody else joining.
Is a no man's
An
land.
additional server-wide message will be displayed when Hunter
Watch out
Hunted is
for
ready to begin,
none.
in order to give other players a final chance to join. So we'll give that a minute, see if anybody joins. Maybe that's what it takes to get people interested in doing like a little bit of open PvP, especially before that new survival mode comes out. But let's talk about the PvP here for a second. So, part of the video was supposed to be explaining what's still viable damage. Now, I didn't want to go over every single note or every single part of the patch notes. They fixed some quests. You can go look it up. Nerfed the Monster Mash XP a little bit. The lighting doesn't flicker in Arctos Pharma. I don't think I've even been there before. Fixed an issue that could cause a character's legs to show through the rose dress while it's equipped. Didn't know about that. Artillery being planted, blueprints. A lot of this stuff is just being able to place foundations and exploit. Address an issue that could allow players to reduce their carry weight to a negative value. They fixed that. Just real quick mention. Addressed an exploit that could allow players to duplicate their stored blueprints, so that, you know, we've all had that, where, like, if you have powered doors or there's something in your base, if you moved your base to a new location, the more powered doors you'd have, the more blueprints it would give you, and it would just, like, let you have an absurd amount of, like, materials. But most of the time you ended up deleting it because you didn't have enough budget for all that anyways. It wasn't really, like, something useful. I think a few people noticed that you could have a little bit bigger budget, but it only worked the first time you placed it down. So level 24 Soltron did not just get one shot. Before, that thing would have been dead in one single shot for sure. 694. That's pretty decent damage. But it's no longer enough to, like, just one shot any enemy you come across, so let's see what we got here. So this has 75 damage and 50 energy resist, so let's see if we can. So level 26. One power attack. It's dead. Let's see if we can find a 50 real quick. Oh, this is a low level handy. We usually have like level 50 robots over here in Matoga. Reaper, you got some over there? Alright. Go to my friend Reaper over here. He says he's got some level 50s. Alright, I'm not gonna power attack. This is gonna be a normal attack. Yeah. So they're still dying in one punch. And if you look, they don't have the highest protection, 125 ballistic resist and 100 energy resist. Which means the first 125 damage doesn't count. Look at that, serendipity kicked in. And I want to keep this video short, or shorter, so I'm not going to go really, really heavily in depth here. But where we can get our damage back. Now they've nerfed these weapons. Well, first off, I think melee is going to be like going back to like the meta again, right? Because they didn't nerf anything melee. So even though I only have 7 strength, right? There are ways that I can increase my damage melee-wise without like running anything special. So let's see here. Martial artist. I can reduce the weight and swing faster. So if I want a faster swing speed on all melee, that would be a card to invest into. One-handed melee weapons. I could buff if I wanted to use a one-handed, like I have a bloodied sickle here, right? If I wanted to increase this damage, I might invest in that perk. But I have a really, really... I love this Power Fist. I did not let this puppy go. 40% more power attack damage does more damage the lower your health is. Bloodied is where it's at weapon-wise. Low health builds are going to be the people that are doing the like highest damage. Oh, look at that. 100 is actually starting. Well, look at that. I got a notification and all. Well, maybe we'll get to actually see a little bit of PvP before we preparation complete. Beacon signal found. I have never actually tried Hunter x Hunter because nobody ever joined because you didn't know what was going on. So this could be like a really big game changer for those who actually want PvP, is you can now join and be a part of this PvP in the Hunter x Hunter. Let's see. Find and assassinate your target. 4 players left. Let's bring bunker. Let's go over there real quick and we'll go over some of this this build I have going. How you can work on a bloodied build that's actually gonna still do really good damage, and what you can do to mitigate the damage you take while being incredibly low health. So if you remember, I was sitting at about 10% health, and at 10% health I'm getting the maximum of unyielding. Now in case you don't know about unyielding, you get 3 to all your special stats except for endurance for each piece of unyielding, but you have to be sitting there at about 10% health to be getting all of it. So as I show up here, let me make sure I'm invisible so I don't get murked. Alright, so like I was saying, unyielding, right? +3 to all stats except endurance when low health, right? I also have, you know, reduced weight because I like to carry a lot of weapons. This one has weapon reduced weight. This is reduced damage while sprinting. That's another one I want to talk about as far as mitigating damage. If you're not going to run stealth, or even if you do want to run stealth, that stat is called Cavalier. The damage while I sprint, I take 50% less damage. If you get multiple pieces with Cavalier on there, action point refresh speed, that's another really important one that you may want to stack for this build, because I'm actually running perks to try to reduce my damage. So I'll need ammo spit or escape artist. Action girl or action boy if you're male, right? That increases your action point regeneration, right, by 45%. That, along with dodgy, avoid 30% of incoming damage at the cost of 30 action points per hit. So that means if I get hit, I'm going to avoid 30% of incoming damage that would otherwise hit me. So let's see. If I pull out my power fist, right? If they're running dodgy, they're going to dodge 30% of the damage from my power fist. So 1200 damage, 30%, that means they're going to 400 damage is going to be missing if they have dodgy on until they're out of AP. And the reason that my damage is so high with that power fist is because of those 4 pieces of unyielding raise my strength to 24. I think I can get up to 25 if I was a little bit lower health, but 24 strength is more than viable, right? Especially considering I don't have any points in unarmed. So let's see, barbarian, 2 damage resists. It's 2-handed weapons. Blockers one I was going to get into in a minute too. Melee weapons. So that's melee weapons ignore 25% of your target's armor. You may want to stack for that if you're going to actually go with the melee build. Otherwise, Iron Fist. Your punching attacks do more damage, right? I can equip the Iron Fist. Let's see. I think that's the main one, is Iron Fist. If I want to equip Iron Fist, I may go overweight. Yeah, I just went overweight. But if I want to put the Iron Fist on, I can upgrade that. Let's upgrade one of those. I'll equip Iron Fist 2. Let's see if my damage went up. So yeah, the damage increased by the percentage it said, so now it's 1324 plus 65. So we raised it by about 200 damage by equipping that 1 2-star card. How we got the damage there though, like I said, the unyielding. I'm running 4 pieces of that with 1 chameleon. If you want to like be able to go invisible when you crouch, You just need one piece of chameleon, right? Try to get action point for refresh if you can, because that's going to help you with your dodgy. That's also going to help you if you're going to run, trying to avoid damage that way. As you can see, 24 strength from the unyielding, that's a big part of it, but this is where the rest of it comes from, is mutations. Adrenal mutation, adrenal reaction mutation is pretty much necessary for this low health build. It's going to give you plus weapon damage of any kind at low health. So that's where I'm getting a huge chunk of my damage right there. But I also have twisted muscles, and I also have talons. So whether I equip, a melee weapon or power fist that's unarmed, that would fall under talons, I'm getting plus 25% damage there. Plus bleed damage, right? With the twisted muscles, you get a chance to cripple. So those right there are what make that bleed, or I'm sorry, make that melee damage so great. But you don't have to put a lot of points in strength in order to make the shine. It just added a couple hundred damage by let me get my right perk on so I can run again. So yeah, to get the kind of damage that I have right here, I don't even have to run points in unarmed, right? And I can get that good damage, but I can still switch over to lever action and do that damage from range. So if you look at my anti-armor explosive weapons, right? This one ignores 50%, critical meter fills faster, right? Automatic combat shotgun. But look at that damage, it's only 251. So with one shot and some points thrown in, 1 point, sorry, some points in rifleman, my rifles still do pretty good damage from a distance when they're bloodied. But when they're not bloodied, you're not going to get that damage that you're used to. This lever action, this two-shot lever action, look how much less damage it does. It does almost half the damage a bloodied weapon does. But the bloodied weapon requires you to be this low health, whereas this gun, the damage will go down because I have adrenal if I'm higher health, but it's still going to outdo bloodied damage, or a bloodied weapon, unless you're low health. So that's a really large factor to look into. These heavy weapons, though, are still pretty viable if you think about how much damage per shot. This 50 cal is only 134 per shot, but let's see here. If you can get shots on an enemy, we're talking about they're probably gonna die real quick unless they have the right armor, unless they have the right perks. So I'll probably get into it a little more in the future as far as what Sentinel armor is, what Cavalier armor is. But if you're gonna go straight PvP, if you're looking forward to the survival mode, you want to look for Assassin's Cavalier, or you want to look for Assassin's Sentinel. And the armor will actually, if it has Assassin's effect, which is reduced damage from players, it'll actually be called either Sentinel or Cavalier. So keep an eye out there for Sentinel or Cavalier armor if you're a PvP person. If they allow you to bring your armor and your weapons like the new survival mode, those are going to be the two-shot explosive weapons are not going to be what you want to bring to a gunfight anymore. They're still good. The damage is not bad, but the base damage of the weapon is no longer going to be doubled by being two-shot and then doubled again by being explosive. We're talking a 25% increase and a 20% increase. So we're talking like a general 45% more than the base damage. So that's why this 50 cal base damage of this gun is probably sitting around 80, 85, and it's getting another 45 damage or so out of that two-shot explosive, right? That's no longer what you're going to be wanting to look for if you're going for a min-max build. If you can pull off this bloodied build, you would want a bloodied explosive. Or if you have a high luck build, there's a couple of videos out there you can find I'll try to see if maybe I can find for the description, but there's a lot of high luck builds out there where if you have luck, let's see what my luck is. My luck is 27. I think the magic number is like 34, but if you can get your luck up to about 34, most of your shots and VATs will be crits no matter what, or your VATs crits will fill every shot. So if you can target something in the distance and you can crit it, let's see if I can get over here and get a quick shot on it. Which you know how much these things love when you attack them at Light Springs. I'm not going to shoot this thing. It'll just break in hell. So, anyways, if you're really big in the PvP, I'll probably talk about this in a future video, but unyielding, if you want to... Unyielding is really great if you want to melee, but you don't want to have to put a lot of points in strength. Or if you do put a lot of points in strength, think about how high my strength would be if I had max strength. Instead of 7, I had 15. We're talking about 8 points more. I'd be sitting at 32 strength right now. And then, you know, I could easily pop myself, you know, a Psychotat and, you know, be doing that much more damage. So there's still ways to multiply your damage. Like right now, it says I'm in caution, right? But if I take off, say, my through hiker, and I put on the escape artist, right? My caution, I crouch. Oh, is it not gonna work? Come on. Of course while I'm doing a video. It might be because I'm in the PvP mode, but... Oh. Anyways, just some general things to look at. The bloodied build is still very strong. You don't need a lot of points in strength to make a bloodied, you know, bloodied glove. Here's a bloodied glove that does limb damage. Or bloodied power fist. If you want to throw a couple points in one-handed, you get something like a bloodied sickle or a bloodied ski sword. Hopefully something with power attacking, swing speed, stuff like that. That's going to make those that much better, especially if you stack for strength. And as you can see, this is only level 40. If I had level 50, it'd be a little bit higher. And last thing, if you're going to go for melee, something to keep an eye on is repairing weapons. If you actually equip a weapon, there it is, weapon artisan. If you equip weapon artisan before you repair your weapon, it'll actually increase the damage, not just the repair, to 200%. So when you repair to 200%, as long as you're above that 100% durability, your damage will actually increase significantly. And all of that's even increased by all the multipliers I've been talking about. So just to reiterate, dodgy, it's a great way when you're at low health. 3 points in agility. You know, you don't need a lot of points in agility. Action Girl or Action Boy will help you keep the action refresh. Getting armor with action refresh is going to help with that. This is not just PvP, but also PvE, right? Serendipity, while 30% health, or while below 30% health, gain 45% chance to avoid damage. That's almost that's almost half. So if you hit me, I have a almost 50% chance to not take damage at all. So every time you punch me over and over, you shoot me over and over, I have a 50% chance that you'll see that little serendipity, you know, icon pop up, and I just take no damage at all. So that's a big one. And blocker is another really big one. Take 45% less damage from your opponent's melee. So if you have blocker and you're facing me, and I have this power fist right now with its almost 1100 damage, I just do 45% less damage to you, period. So even with a power attack, where I get 40% more power attack damage, we're talking that's over 1400 damage. 45% of that's just gone. So a low health build, blocker, serendipity, dodgy, these all make it so when you're going to attack in a Scorch Queen fight, or just any fight, that you're less likely to just die. And then You know, and the hell with it.
The
Come on.
White Spring is under our protection.
Alright, pop a stim pack. Oh, look at that. I did die pretty quick. Alright, so it's not a perfect build, but I don't have Sentinel. I wasn't running, so that one wasn't factoring in, but just kind of wanted to go over some things, and I hope everybody enjoyed. I'm sorry it went a lot longer, but this patch had a lot going into it, and I really wanted to show people like what's possible. It's damage may have been nerfed, but at the same time, you can still find those multipliers. You just got to work harder for them. So I plan on making a future video going more in depth about how to get the damage, less about the patch notes, and also what armors are effective and why. I'm going to see if one of my friends will demonstrate with their Assassin Sentinel set, because it is truly impenetrable. You just cannot damage them without armor penetration. And a trap base. I made a kind of cool little trap base I thought I'd, show in the future, but for right now I just wanted to cover that. Hope everybody enjoyed. If you like leaving a like, go for it. I'm not going to be begging for it. Hope to keep the videos in the future shorter. Everybody have a good one. This is Silent but Deadly, out.